We're fuzzy. It'll be fuzzy for a while. Who cares? Hi. Um, it's another session of Quarantiki. It's 30 something.
33.
33. What does my sweater say? So, yeah, sure. I was going to actually talk about the sweater a little bit. So this is actually, it's technically not a sweater. It's a long sleeve t-shirt. But last year, and for a few years prior to that, Jeff Beachbum Berry has sponsored a Sipping Santa occasion, I guess, for Christmas time. And he brings in bars from all over the country, and they have merchandise and various other assorted things that go with them. So you can get little mugs with Santa Claus and a surfboard, and they have special drinks that Jeff has put together. And last year, and I think the year before, our local tiki bar, the one in the district, Archipelago, partook of this event. And so we, of course, went down and patronized them. And while we were there, we picked up stuff, merch. And one of the things that we picked up is this spiffy shirt that basically says Merry Christmas in Hawaiian, to the essentially. And down below it says Archipelago, to let you know that it's from the Archipelago bar in DC. So there you go. It's nice. It's kind of chilly out, so that's a nice long sleeve t-shirt works really well. It also works really nicely when it gets cold out, because you can just throw on your usual tiki or aloha shirt over it, and then you've got a double layer thing, because not all tiki bars are in sunny Hawaii or San Diego. Some of them are up in the north where it's cold, and others are in DC where it's just a cold day in hell. All right, so for 33...
David, Christine...
Shout outs, right?
Dana, Colleen...
David, Christine, Colleen, Dana, and what? Bonita. All right, excellent. Welcome to another session of Quarantiki. Since Thursday, we've been eating a lot of turkey and a lot of stuffing, and sleeping a lot and drinking a lot. And so my preparation for this event is maybe not at its sharpest, but that's okay, because what I'm going to do is I just want to talk to you about one of my favorite cocktails, and we'll go through a number of different variations on that. It's not truly a tiki cocktail. It's kind of a precursor to it. But before we get into that, we do want to do a toast. So we're going to go grab some rum and do a toast. And then there is a cocktail that I've blundered across, and I want to give that a try. And it, oddly enough, is from the guys at Archipelago. So, we're going to give this a shot. But
They
first...
don't know if you're going to do an improvement on eggnog.
I am not going to do an improvement on eggnog, because that would have taken preparation. I don't even have any eggs down here currently. So, yeah, and I'm not going to send you up after them, because that would be just too much effort. So, yeah, we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is drink some rum.
Move the camera down a little bit.
Okay, we're just going to move the camera down. We're going to drink some rum. I'm going to reach over here and grab the Real McCoy 10. The other Real McCoy that's sitting on the rum stacks. Which McCoy is that?
12.
That's the 12. Okay, so this is in fact what I wanted to have for the sipping rum. So we do have so we have the 10-year, we have the 3-year, and we have the 12-year, which is currently not sitting here, but it will be in a moment. So these are all produced by Foursquare Distillery in Barbados. Shock. They're very good, high-quality rums. They're not going to break the bank. They're quite tasty. And like all Foursquare products, they believe in truth in advertising. So the age statements on here refer to the youngest rum that is in these bottles. So there's some 3-year juice in here, there's some 10-year juice in here, and there's 12-year juice in here. Now the 12-year we can actually get. We can find the 12-year on the shelves at our local ABC stores. Same thing with the 3-year. We can't find the 10-year for the most part.
Right.
Here's the interesting factor. The 12-year is composed of almost entirely 12 year. Shock, it's 12 year. The 3 year is 3 year, right? There's a little, I believe there's a little older rum in here, but not much. It's pretty much 3 year. The 10 year actually has 10 year in it, but it also has some 12 year and some 15. And this is actually, to my mind, the best of these 3 rums. But you would, if you were just going by age statement, you would go, oh, well, clearly I want the 12 year. But thankfully, you know, they label their stuff and you know what's in here. And this has actually got a smoother flavor for my money because of the 15-year juice that's in there. So we're going to take a sip out of this.
Okay.
I mean, unless you want to take a sip out of the 10 or the 12 as well, but I think we're just going to do this.
Fine.
And then we'll put the 10 back on the bar, or not on the bar, back on the
Shelf.
because I don't want to inadvertently be mixing cocktails with it because I want to hoard my 10 year. All right.
2 Thanksgivings.
2 Thanksgivings.
2 friends that we were not with this year.
Right. The usual, there is usually a toast at our massive Thanksgiving gathering to absent friends. And this year there were a few more absent friends. Usually the absent friends is also a call out to those that we have lost this year. And I do know that there are a number of people out there, unfortunately, in 2020 that have lost loved ones. So here's to absent friends. May their spirits always shine on our spirits. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's kind of tasty. That is definitely tasty. All right. Comments, questions. Congrats equals improvement on eggnog. No. Coquita. Oh, yes. Yeah. Puerto Rican traditional Christmas drink. Yes, coquita. Yeah. Less effort to put together coquita than eggnog usually as well. I have not made, personally, I have not made a coquita. I should probably do it at some point. Maybe we've got a couple of weekends coming up before Christmas. Maybe I should do it for one of our Quarantikis. That sounds like a plan. We could do that. Yeah. All right, so truth in advertising. Around Christmas time, we oddly enough spend a lot of time in liquor stores, more than usual, I think. Usual as in the rest of the year. And we're usually buying gifts for people. And one of the things that we do is we like to buy like the little mini bottles of things and slip them into people's stockings because that's kind of a cute thing to do as long as they're old enough to drink. And this is also an opportunity to pick up mini bottles of liquors or liqueurs that you've not worked with before and don't know flavors of and that sort of thing. So one of the things that I have just never worked with and have never had occasion to, but I've seen it in a number of different recipes and have kind of wanted to, but I didn't want to necessarily go out and spend the money on a big bottle, is sloe gin. So we have a little mini bottle of sloe gin here. This is Hoffland Sloe Gin. It's 27% alcohol by volume. I am a sloe gin complete and utter novice. Know nothing about it. It's a product of Holland. Okay, sure. But we're doing tiki here, so I need to figure out a way of doing sloe gin in tiki. And as it turns out, there's this wonderful recipe called the Cobra Effect, and that is brought to us by Owen Thompson of Archipelago in Washington, D.C. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, who's got sloe gin? Oh, this looks like an interesting recipe. Oh, it's by the guys in Archipelago. Well, okay, definitely I've got to do that. So that's what we're going to do this evening. We're going to start off with a Cobra Effect from the guys at Archipelago. And we're going to play around with some other cocktails after that. But I'm jonesing to use the sloe gin, so we're going to do a Cobra Effect. So how's that? How's that for planning, right? All right, so what do we need? We need to shake this. Boom. And as usual, we're going to go with the cheaper ingredients, moving to the more expensive ingredients. And I almost always, when I'm thinking about it, properly tuned into what I'm doing, I will put in my sweeteners before I put in my sours, because I think the sour helps clear out the jigger. Who knows? I may be wrong, but... So what are we using for sweetener here? We are using velvet falernum for sweetener. Okay, well, I happen to have some, well, actually, not velvet falernum. We're using falernum. My velvet falernum is in the back. That's John D. Taylor's, also produced by Foursquare. But I happen to have this handy bottle of golden falernum from Bitter Truth. And that's what we're going to use. We're going to go ahead and start with that. And that is half an ounce. Half an ounce of falernum. A little spicy, a little almondy, a little citrusy, all good things, all combined. Adds that nice spice ingredient to a lot of different tiki drinks. Sloe gin. Now, the sloe gin is one of the more expensive ingredients, but it also tends to be a little on the sweeter side, and it's supposed to be a little on the thicker side, although this just doesn't seem like it. Well, that's a very berry flavor to it. I mean, it's made from sloe berries, so one would think. We're going to go half ounce. This is a bright red color. I'm going to have to remember that. If I like the taste of this, I'm going to have to remember that, because this bright red color is something that I can work with that for tiki drinks. So there you go. There's no other sweetener in this. We're going to go with 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. Lime juice.
Got Amanda Albert.
Amanda, how are you? Did you have a good Thanksgiving? Did everyone have a good Thanksgiving? Hopefully, people had at least a decent Thanksgiving. Let me know in the comments. Let me know how your Thanksgiving went, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. 3/4 of an ounce lime juice. Now my lime juice here is a little on the old side. It's a few days old. What I did is I've left this pretty much sealed, and it's got a nice, almost airtight seal on it. So that should keep it from oxidizing some. And before we started the broadcast today, I just dumped another couple of fresh squeezed limes in here to actually brighten it up some. And tend to get pretty good longevity out of my limes when I do that. All right, what else we got? Falernum, the sloe gin, the lime juice. Alcohol goes in here. Yay, alcohol! All right, so we need Jamaican rum and an aged rum alcohol. So we're going to go with the rum alcohol. Did I just really say rum alcohol? I did. Rum agricole. So 1 ounce of my standard rum agricole, which is the Clement VSOP. Okay. Everybody remember the difference between a rum agricole and standard rums? Huh? Rum agricoles are produced from raw sugarcane juice, as opposed to other rums that are produced from molasses. That is the primary difference. If they are coming from the Isle of Martinique or various other French territories, they will often carry an AOC marking on them from the French government. Means that they are made in a very particular fashion, means that they are made at a particular locale. It's much the same way that the French treat champagne. Right? So you can do the exact same process somewhere else in the world. You can't call it champagne. You have to call it sparkling wine. Same thing here. All right, so...
Colleen had a nice, quiet Thanksgiving.
Nice, quiet Thanksgiving. Good,
Jake
good.
had smoked prime rib.
Oh, smoked prime rib. Oh, there's a wonderful place that does smoked prime rib in Northern Virginia called Epic Smokehouse. Their smoked prime rib, quite tasty, which we need to get there and pick up some prime rib from them. Unfortunately, they're not like in a delivery radius, so that doesn't make it particularly easy for us to do it. But smoked prime rib, liking that idea.
And Amanda did, the hurricanes came out all right, but she messed up her mom's virgin daiquiri.
Was it not virginal? What did you do to mess up your virginal daiquiri? Well, we'll get into that. So the next thing, we need a Jamaican rum. We need 1 ounce of Jamaican rum. I'm going to go and reach for what is my standard Jamaican and easy to find, won't break the bank, the Plantation Jamaica. Yes, I have a number of other Jamaican rums up here, including the Ray and Nephew, which is a white overproof Jamaican rum, which would probably be fine in here, but this is the first time I'm working with sloe gin. I don't want to overpower it, so we're going to go with the Jamaica. The Jamaica is slightly less than my other primary choice for Jamaican aged Jamaican rums, which would be the Appleton 12-year. Currently, the Appleton 12-year isn't on my bar. It's over there. So we're going to go with the Jamaica. So there, that's how that works. This is shaken over cubed ice. So there's some cubes. There's some more cubes. Now, I was thinking I would put this in a tiki mug. You know, one of the tiki mugs maybe that friends of ours gave us, but we're not going to do that. Why aren't we going to do that? Well, because the sloe gin's is brilliant red color, and I want to see it, so we're not going to do that. We're going to put it in a glass mug that I can actually see through. Fortunately, we have glass tiki mugs, so we're going to do that. All right, shake this guy. Frost on the container here. You can see the line there. Crack that. I'm just going to run a thumb. Oh, that's pleasant. Oh, the berry really comes through. I was afraid the sloe gin it would disappear with the rest of the ingredients, but wow, that's a cautionary tale, because I think that what that means is sloe gin probably has a very pronounced flavor. And we're going to have to be careful about how we use that in drinks, lest they taste of nothing but sloe gin. Which, you know, if you like that flavor, that would be fine. But then why are you mixing a cocktail? You want a cocktail to be a well-balanced blend of flavors. There we go. Well, that is kind of pretty.
The center of the frame. I think they may be.
Well, could have been. All right, so that's all cleaned up there. I'm going to stick a straw in this. Oh, this straw seems like a better straw for that. I want to taste before it goes elsewhere, so I'm going to stick one of these in. It's alcohol forward. I mean, not like a Manhattan or something, but there's definitely, you can tell that you are drinking alcohol with that. The berry of the sloe gin comes through. The little spiciness of the Falernum, but I might want to kick up the Falernum just a hint. Maybe not. Probably a sprig of mint would go pretty nicely in here. My poor mint. It's getting ready for winter is what it's doing. So it's kind of limping along here. So there we go. It's kind of, I don't know if you can tell in the color that we have from our lights here, but it's a very soft kind of pink color.
Yeah.
That's very pretty.
Pink, almost peach.
Yeah. Give that a sip. What do you think of that, my love? Oh, Karen.
No,
apparently she hates it. All right,
no,
yay, I get a drink. No.
Wrong.
I did that last night, unfortunately, on my very last sip of a brand new bottle of Exceptional Cask Détente from Foursquare, which was quite nice, except that went down the wrong pipe, and it was a little hot going down the wrong pipe.
Yeah.
That was not the nice way to end a rum tasting last night. So, you like? That's from the boys at Archipelago.
I like.
Needs a little complexity to it?
Need something.
Need something?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm going to let you have that one.
Oh, okay.
You get a drink.
I get a drink. Now, I don't know if that's going to survive because she doesn't know what I'm going to do for the rest of the occasion this evening. I just said that I was going to work with a cocktail that I really like and play around with it some. So she has no idea what's coming up.
None.
So we're just going to totally surprise her. Let me put this drink up here so you can see.
You spanked the mint, David sipped the sour.
Sweet! What kind of sour are you drinking, David? I sipped the sour. Bourbon sour? Scotch? Mm-hmm. Some other form of whiskey? Mm. Last night, we had the occasion, we were over at a friend's house. We're potted with these people, so I mean, it's just like close-knit group. Um, but their neighbors were sort of interested in what we were doing for cocktails. And so I made them up a couple of what were essentially rye sours. And apparently, those went over really, really well. Sometimes a very simple drink is what works very nicely. The only real bizarreness to it was I used my Russian Caravan tea infused simple syrup as the sweetener for those, and so that seems to work really, really well with the rye, the spiciness of the rye. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind. Keep on hand some Russian Caravan tea syrup, and use that with the Rittenhouse rye, 100 proof Rittenhouse rye. Worked out really nice. The cocktail we're going to work with is not a tiki cocktail, but it is the basis for tiki cocktails. So, Star, you get one guess as to what cocktail that I love and is the basis for tiki cocktails around the world, but isn't in itself a tiki cocktail.
Daiquiri?
You got it in one. She said daiquiri, because daiquiri has the Holy Trinity. Daiquiri has sweetener, the simple syrup. It has lime juice, and it has rum. There you go. That's it. That's your trinity that goes in the daiquiri. Why do I like daiquiris? Couple of reasons. First of all, I like rum. And so the daiquiri is a very simple cocktail. It is essentially a sour made with rum. And the nice thing about that is that you really get the rum flavor. So you can have a variety of different daiquiris, each one made with different rums, and they will all taste somewhat different because they are highlighting the flavors of the rum. So if you like rum, the daiquiri is sort of a nice go-to. That said, if you are ordering a daiquiri at a place that does not have high quality rums, well, then you're going to get Bacardi Superior or something along those lines in your daiquiri, and those will taste largely the same. Fresh lime juice makes all the difference here. These
Also gets daiquiri.
daiquiri, awesome. See, Benita, awesome. Yay, I have those ingredients. I'm going to make this with you. Is that okay? Absolutely. That is absolutely okay. But what we are going to do this evening, so I've done daiquiri classes in the past, and we've done a variety of different variations on the daiquiri. And you can get, very, very different daiquiris by varying the rum or using a blend of rum. You can get very different daiquiris by altering the sweetener in this cocktail. The lime juice, you should pretty much stay on target with the lime juice. I wouldn't go too far afield with using other citruses there if you still want to keep that same flavor profile. But what we are going to do is rather than journey all over the place with a bunch of different rums, because that would have required homework on my part, I would have had to figure out what rums I want. We're going to vary the base sweetener and see what that results with a variety of different daiquiris. So we're going to hold the rum steady, and we are going to hold the lime juice steady, but we are going to vary the sweetener. That's it. This is the only variation that we're going to do. Unless, of course, I get tired with that rum, and then I'll move on to a different rum. Because, it might be that one of those sweeteners we go, this really requires a rum with a little more oomph to it to stand up to it. You can also do combinations of sweeteners. So you could do like a honey syrup and say a date syrup or something along those lines. Mix those two together for a very different flavor than either the date syrup or the honey syrup. But we're going to go ahead and make some daiquiris. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a daiquiri And then I'm going to split it amongst 2 glasses so that both my wife and I can have daiquiri. And then I will make another daiquiri and do the same thing, and then we can do taste tests against those two daiquiris apart from one another. But if you're going to do this sort of experimental method, first of all, you need clean barware, hint, hint, hint. And the second thing that you need to do is you need to have a baseline. All right, it doesn't do you any good to do experiments without a baseline and understand what the base is supposed to taste like. So this is a bottle of 2-to-1 simple syrup. Straight up white sugar, water, 2-to-1 mix, and we are going to use that as our first sweetener. We are going to contrast that with the Russian Caravan tea syrup for no other good reason than I have a lot of this syrup. So I'm going to go ahead and use it, and we will do the comparison between those two. I'm going to be using Probitas as my rum of choice here. Probitas is a blend of coffee and pot still rum distilled at Foursquare Distillery. This is a really solid rum. For those of you that are not in the United States, it is not called Probitas. It is called Veritas. It is called Veritas outside the United States. So we're going to be using Probitas this evening. The proportions on daiquiris can be played around with a little bit. And for whatever reason, I like equal proportions of my sweetener and my sour. And I like those at about 3/4 of an ounce each to 2 ounces of the alcohol. So that's what I'm going to do for these 2 cocktails. I'm going to go 1 here, right? And then I need to make sure that that will work. It will. All right, so this is all we're going to do, right? That's the only change we're going to make between these 2 drinks. All right, so 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup goes into our glass on the left. Because of the high sugar content, 2-to-1 simple syrup is basically room temperature stable. I keep mine in the fridge just to be, I guess, on the safe side. And it just seems to last for freaking forever. So, there you go. It seems to be good. You'd think that I'd go through like tons and tons and tons of all of my syrups and the like, but really during COVID, there's only 2 of us here. Which means, some of these syrups, I'm really glad they don't go bad quickly, because it would just be sad to be throwing these things out. So other glass, we have 3/4 of an ounce of the tea syrup. So I am absent-minded, so I'm going to put the tea syrup over here on the right. I'm going to put the simple syrup over here on the left, and hopefully that will keep my mind in the game that which one is which. Not that it matters from here on out, because the rest of the ingredients are the same. So, what? Silly pooch. All right, so 3/4 of an ounce of fresh squeezed lime juice. There. I was reminded yesterday, because I was measuring with jiggers that did not have internal markings on them. And I was reminded how much I really love jiggers that have internal markings on them. So I don't know if you're going to be able to tell. I'm going to stick this over in front of the camera a little bit. So here's typical jigger. Got 1 ounce on the top, 2 ounces on the bottom. But if you were trying to estimate by eye, 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, or 3/4 of an ounce, it's really hard to tell. But this little guy has got lines on the inside. And you fill up to that line, and you're getting a consistent measure. Trying to estimate, where 3/4 of an ounce is on a pony jigger is it's a pain. And I just felt that my drinks were not as consistent as maybe they could be. Okay, so next up, alcohol. We need 2 ounces of Probitas. So there's 2. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Yeah, I almost knocked over the cocktail shaker. Yep, you saw that. 2. All right. The Probitas has a very nice, clean flavor. There's a hint of some funk to it. I mean, not in the anything even approaching a Jamaican funk to it, but there is. I mean, there's a hint of a. It's definitely got a nose. It's not a pure column still rum, not like Bacardi or Ronda Barrilito or Havana Club. There's definitely that pot still element to it, which is one of the reasons why I really like Barbadian rum. Okay, so we need ice in here, and we'd ideally like that ice to be roughly the same amount of ice. So I'm going to take this guy. And we want to make sure our level of dilution is about the same. So what does that mean? That means we're going to shake these guys at the same time for about the same amount of time. There we go. All right. Here is daiquiri number 1 and daiquiri number 2. And I need a strainer. Fortunately, I have a multitude of Hawthorne strainers. This can go. Drop the ice there. Glass number 1. Glass number 2. All right, so we're going to split this. These guys do not stand up on bar mats. They're really pretty looking, but they don't stand up on bar mats to save their life. So we're going to go here. I really should double strain these to get the glass shards out. Glass shards.
Ice shards.
Ice shards. If you're having a problem with glass shards, yeah, you should really strain your drinks. You should also throw them out and not serve them. Ice shards, on the other hand, are a matter of personal taste. Most people are like, double strain your daiquiris. We're going to go with single straining, at least in this case, which means I'm going to have to single strain this as well. So there you go. That is a classic, standard Probitas daiquiri. Oh, thank you.
It's so good.
It's just, it is, the rum comes through, straightforward, classic, well-balanced. There's no, you get the sugar, but you are getting a pure sense of the Probitas rum with that cocktail. This, however, we have a flavored syrup. So we should expect to knock over our glass. We should expect that we're going to get some different flavors here because the tea is going to come through. These are both 2 to 1.
We have the shakers.
Now, I'll give you these. And this is just ice. Right? No, it isn't. No, that's the top. I need this. All right. So what have we got here in terms of differences? Well, let me put this the right way. So right off, you'll note that there's a color difference. So this is a little bit darker, a little more brownish. It seems to come through as more yellow on the camera. Whereas this is, it's just almost a paler white. There's the exact same amount of lime juice in these. And for my money, I think the tea causes the lime juice to be more pronounced. I don't know why, but it just seems like I taste more of the lime in the tea syrup than I do in the standard. I don't know why, but I do.
Well, it gives it something to talk to.
But the The rum blends nicely with the tea. The tea provides a nice aftertaste to it, whereas this is crisp and clear. They're both really refreshing. Mm.
Amanda officially needs a bar mat.
Yes, if you're going to be making cocktails, holy crud, get a freaking bar mat because it's so much easier to clean. You just pick up the bar mat and go over and throw it in the sink, as opposed to spilling your cocktails and drinks all over your counter. Or if, like me, I've got this little kind of bamboo mat that's sitting on my bar, and if I spill cocktail on that, I have to take everything off of my bar and pull that mat up and and really dry it out good and put some air on it. Otherwise, the bar mat will, the matting here will actually get, well, kind of grody and nasty. So we don't like doing that. That's a lot of work. So bar mats, excellent stuff. Bar mats are cheap. You don't have to spend a great deal of money on the bar mats. And if you're not too judgy and you're okay with vodka, it turns out that a lot of the vodka manufacturers manufacture bar mats like these, the little thin strip bar mats, with brand specific identification on them to advertise their vodkas. Others do it, like Ray and Nephew Rum, but I find that vodka seems to be they're just all over the place. On eBay, you can find dozens of different vodka bar mats. You probably want the larger bar mat rather than the thin strip bar mat. If what you're doing is wanting to protect your counter from drink spills and that sort of thing. And that looks like this. Right, they come in various thicknesses. This one's a little thicker than the usual bar mat, and I really like that. It does take a little longer to dry. It's so nice though, especially when you're doing syrups, which are sticky and nasty, and it's like, nope, I can just toss this in a tub with a whole bunch of hot water and some soap, and bingo bango, it's done. It's good. Okay, so we've got two cocktails here, two daiquiris. The Cobra Effect is interesting. I think I needed to shake it longer because as it starts to meld together, getting some other flavors off of that, which are really kind of nice. That berryness of the slow gin, though, that's really kind of, but it's very tart. It's getting more tart as it sits. You're not going to like it. All right, so what else can you do with a daiquiri, though? So I talked about the daiquiri being kind of...
This is... The standard is really smooth.
Yes.
But this one definitely has more character.
Right.
More, and you get a tint of the Russian Caravan.
Mm-hmm.
But you really do get a lot more lime and a little bit of spice.
Yeah, I will say that the simple syrup version, your standard basic daiquiri, your classic daiquiri, is going to give you the most clean taste of the rum. That doesn't mean you can't play around and see what other things will do. We have here a different kind of syrup. This is a syrup made from organic California dates. It's just date syrup. So, you want to do a daiquiri for date night. There you go, right? You can do a pun and make your daiquiris with date syrup. Now, you'll note difference in color, right? Simple syrup, tea syrup. This date syrup stuff, man, this container is not dark plastic. This container is clear plastic. So yeah, it almost blends in with this black tip. So you can imagine that is going to give us a very different color profile than either of these, which is what I'm going to do right now. We're going to make another one. We have questions.
Why is a daiquiri not tiki?
The daiquiri predates tiki. And so, all right. So let's clear up some things on tiki. When I say it's not tiki, that doesn't mean you won't find it on menus of tiki bars. It doesn't mean that you can't order a daiquiri in a tiki bar and get a damn fine daiquiri. All it means is that it does not derive its origins from the origins of tiki bars. So it does not derive its origin from those bars in Southern and Central California in the late 1930s, early 1940s, that started the tiki craze, that then swept the country in the late 40s, 50s, and 60s. But here's the trick. The daiquiri is the prototypical Caribbean cocktail, and almost all of your tiki drinks are based off of those Caribbean elixirs, potions, etc., which are variations on the daiquiri. Right? Maybe you're going to try different types of rum, add some different sweeteners. Instead of lime juice, you're going to use a combination of lime and grapefruit juice, and the daiquiri is sort of the basic building block for almost all of the tiki drinks that came after. Even drinks that you don't think have really any relationship because their base spirit might be gin, at their heart is essentially a daiquiri, because they're balancing those three ingredients. Any good cocktail is balancing three ingredients. It's balancing the sweetness, it's balancing the sourness, and the spirit all together. And the daiquiri is just the prototypical example of the rum version of that kind of balanced cocktail. Okay, so does that help? That's, so it's not, to the tiki truists out there, it is not a pure tiki drink, but man, if you want a good daiquiri, almost any tiki bar is going to be able to give you a really good daiquiri. Unfortunately, you are going to have to be faced with the next question that they will ask you, which is, which rum would you like us to use for your daiquiri? Unless they have a house daiquiri. And then that can be completely and utterly overwhelming. It's like, I don't know. It's also a really nice way to try different styles of rum that you're maybe not used to, and don't want to delve into the deep end of, oh, sure, just give me a shot of that and let me try it. Have a daiquiri made with it. It's a great way to get into rum agricoles. So if you are used to the classic molasses-based rums, and you've maybe sniffed around some rum agricoles and gone, this doesn't taste like rum to me, order up a rum agricole daiquiri at some rum joint, and that'll be a nice introduction to the agricole. And I need another sip of this. Sorry, hold on a second. Get up here, get to talking. Voice gets a little raspy. Need to do something about that. Okay, I'm gonna make a daiquiri. I'm gonna make the same daiquiri I made, but I'm going to use date syrup. This is gonna change the mouthfeel of the cocktail, because that's thick. That's molasses level thick. That's gonna be interesting. By the way, don't make a daiquiri with molasses. Molasses is such a powerful flavor. You will taste nothing but the molasses there. It may taste like bad molasses because it's going to be a little sour because you'll get a little bit of the lime juice, but it's going to destroy any remnants of rum flavor that you might have potentially wanted to have in that cocktail. I'm a little concerned that because this is so thick, when I throw ice in it, that we might get a little seize. It might just do the same thing that honey does, which is it almost crystallizes. And that'd be bad. It's not flavorful in your cocktail because you don't get the sweetness that you want. All right, so we got 3/4 ounce date syrup, 3/4 ounce fresh lime juice, and now we are going to go 2 ounces of Probitas rum. All right, there's the rum, goes over there. I am so concerned about the difference in viscosity here and what this might do with some ice that I'm going to shake this. I'm going to do a dry shake on it to start with, and try and get this mixed up before I throw ice in here, because I just have a hunch, throw the ice in there and it's going to go solid on me, and I don't want that. So we're just going to give this a few quick shakes. Yep. All right. Now you might note I'm exerting some force here to hold this together. So there's no ice in here, which means this metal piece here is not contracting because there's no thermal ingredient to cause the bottom piece to contract, which means this is not forming a very tight seal. So I really have to hold it together. If you are working with egg whites will form a foam. They will change the pressure to a positive pressure in here, and they want that cocktail shaker to just split apart. So really hold your cocktail shaker together when you're doing egg whites for thickener. Oh yeah, that's going to work much better now that that's all mixed up. All right, where is there's my little container, because see how exacting we're being? We're making sure we got the same volume of ice, each one of these. This guy goes in here. There we go. Pop this weasel. All right, here is our date syrup. Daiquiri. Take a slurp. Now, I'm going to need a different cocktail glass. Sarah's got one right here. Okay. All right, so this is not going to be quite as cold because, well, my preparation is lacking, but we've got a little chill on this. Go in there. Yeah, I'd say that's a little darker. There we go, right? Okay, standard daiquiri. Tea syrup daiquiri. I'm still confused by the fact that that just brings out more lime. And now the date night daiquiri, or the date daiquiri, right? Date syrup daiquiri.
That's yummy.
Is it?
Yeah. Doesn't quite overpower. It is definitely datey.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is, the date definitely comes through on that. That is one that you could go with a little more aggressive rum on.
Yes.
I think you could, and by more aggressive, I mean a stronger flavor profile. I wouldn't necessarily think you would need to go with an overproof, but you could certainly go with, we could go with the McCoy 12. We could go with the Demerara. Demerara would probably be really good with that. I don't know that the Hogo of a Jamaican would mix particularly well with the date. Maybe it would. Oh, I'm kind of fond of that. But you notice, so even though the drinks are exactly the same proportions, they are largely prepared in the same way. I did have to make a change to how I was prepping the date one because of the nature of the syrup that I was putting in there. Because I wanted to use the date syrup. I noticed it was thicker, just like honey. Honey will seize, so we wanted to do something about that. The dry shake handled that really well. I guarantee that if I threw ice in there to start with and tried to shake it, it would not be as well balanced as that cocktail is. I mean, if you ordered either one and you ordered a daiquiri and you got either one of these, you would go, "What did you do to my daiquiri?" And then they would have to tell you that they did not do a straight up daiquiri. I was planning on doing, I had plans to do one more daiquiri, but my wife went to the back and brought out a different syrup. So I think I need to do 2 more daiquiris if people are willing. Do you want another couple of daiquiris? You want to play with this a little more?
Amanda would wishes she were here to help you with your daiquiri.
You know, I wish you were here to help me with my daiquiris because I miss making drinks for people. You know, I mean, this is fun and all, but you know, there's something really nice about putting a cocktail in someone's hands and watching their eyes light up as the flavors hit their tongue, and they go, "This is really yummy," or they go, "Dude, what did you do?" You know, either of those are perfectly acceptable reactions in my world. All right, the uh, the tea, the syrup that Star brought out from the back is my homemade spiced syrup. And in order to differentiate it from the other dark syrups that are in the back, we stuck a cinnamon stick in here, fully expecting that at some point this cinnamon stick would just sink down into the bottom of the syrup. It's a little thick. The cinnamon stick has never quite submerged in there, so I find that kind of amusing. I need to use a different jigger because this jigger still has some of the date syrup in it. Remember when I said I like to put the syrup in and then go with the citrus and then with the alcohol to help clear out that jigger? Yeah, I mean, there's still residue of the date syrup in this jigger. That's how thick and viscous it is. So we are going to have to use a different jigger. Oh, shucks. I happen to have another jigger here. So we can continue on in our quest to explore the flavor profiles of daiquiris. All right. If you want me to use the spice syrup, I'm going to have you open it. So here's the deal here. I almost always, when I am at my best doing this kind of thing, I make sure I have opened every bottle that I am going to use because of just this fact of sometimes not being able to open the bottle show off.
I'm your butch.
I loosened it for you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Made me look good.
You always look good, babe. All right, 3/4 of an ounce spiced syrup. This is a demerara sugar, 2-to-1 with water that I have infused with a variety of different spices. Someday I'll let you know all of the things that are in there. They're kind of classic baking spices like allspice and cinnamon, star anise, nutmeg. Probably the bizarre thing that I put in mine that you don't see in other spiced cocktail syrups is cardamom. I like some cardamom pods in there. I think it adds a component to it that is just very different from other spice syrups. We need 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, and 2 ounces of Propitas. One.
Glass for more.
And 2. Well, so classically, the daiquiri is not served in these kind of martini glasses. The classic glass for a daiquiri is a coupe. And traditionally, it is also a cold or frozen coupe. Coupe. And I do have them. I keep coupe glasses in my freezer, but, and here would be the one reason why I would want to have a mic that is not tethered, would be to be able to go back to the back room and dig out those glasses when I need them. But I can just ask my wife to do that, and she's usually pretty obliging when it comes to go fetch me something from the back room. But you don't need to fetch anything from the back room because I have glasses right here, so we're good. We are good. She went anyway. It's all right. She loves me. Woohoo. Oh, so then we'll do that. Keep that getting cold. Our next cocktail. And then, where's my little guy? It's this little guy? This is the little guy, right? Yeah, this is the, yep. Oh, it's a little more than I've done in the past. There we go. Again, trying to keep the ice to the same level. Shake this up. It occurs to me that at professional bars, each bartender has their own station, and these stations are probably 5, 6 feet. They're at least 4 feet, maybe, and usually a little longer in terms of ice and bottles and that sort of thing. And if you're actually turning and shaking this way, that's probably good because you're not actually going smack and hitting the bartender that is working to your right or left in the head, which was, that would be a bad thing. You don't want to injure your fellow bartender. Sure, we'll just use it later. All right.
You have that.
Oh, I have one. I have the tentacle glass.
That's the last one.
Yes, we only have 4 of these guys. That's all right. Ta-da. Your spiced syrup daiquiri, my dear.
Thank you.
So, coloration, much closer to the tea syrup. I'm running out of room here. Date, tea, spiced. See, she loves that syrup.
That's my favorite.
She loves that syrup. All right.
That's my favorite.
That just that melds so well with the Probitas. It really does. It's a very nice flavor combination. The
Crispin Snowing also loves cardamom.
The Probitas really comes through on the spice syrup, much more so than it does in the date. The date kind of overwhelms it a little bit.
And how long does your fresh juice last?
In general, fresh lime and fresh lemon juice are good for about a 24-hour period, assuming that you generally store them in the cold and you are storing them in a container where they are not open to oxygen. Citrus juices oxygenate, get oxidized. Sorry, don't oxygenate. They oxidize pretty rapidly, and they either lose their crispness or they develop this really kind of funky bitterness to them that you don't want. Now, having said that, we just recently were involved in a conversation about what is the best way to get a little more lifetime out of your lime and lemon juice. And it was suggested that because oxygen is the primary culprit, what you might want to do is treat your lime and lemon juice just like they were wine, which means transfer them to a smaller container where they have where there's very little oxygen connection surface area, transfer area, or use one of the vacuum systems, which is I have these little, they're like rubber corks that stick in the bottle, and you have a little vacuum hand pump, and they will just pump out the oxygen from the bottle, and that pulls the plastic stopper down into it, and that will help keep any oxygen from getting to your juice, and you should be able to keep your juice for several days along those lines. You'll note, as I mentioned earlier, this lime juice is actually a holdover from Thanksgiving, so it's several days old at this point, but it was significantly higher in this bottle, so there was less oxygen content, and this cap is one of those weird squeeze cap things where it's a unidirectional, and as a consequence there's very little, it's not a vacuum, but it doesn't allow a lot of oxygen back in. I also kicked this back up just before using it. I I squeezed 2 full limes into this to add 2 more ounces of fresh lime juice into this, and that will help keep a brighter, fresher flavor. But even still, I can't imagine that you're going to get more than about 4 days before 4 or 5 days before you want to throw out your lime juice. Orange juice, different critter entirely. Fresh squeezed orange juice doesn't keep. Drink your fresh squeezed orange juice pretty much, certainly within 24 hours. So if you have leftover orange juice from a party the night before, drink it in the morning with, make sure you have, something to make sure that you can drink that orange juice, because fresh squeezed orange juice will just get disgusting after about 25, 26 hours. It's just nasty, so don't do that. Grapefruit juice, grapefruit juice is, it loses a lot of its tang fairly rapidly. I would almost rather squeeze grapefruit juice fresh directly into the drink and not have it sitting out. But that's just not practical. And I'm not sure what the companies are doing that actually can white grapefruit juice. But I actually have had pretty good luck using canned white grapefruit juice, especially the small cans of white grapefruit juice. The cans, the cans are shelf stable. They'll be good for forever. But if you buy like a bottle of white grapefruit juice from your local supermarket, something along those lines, yeah, it's not going to survive for very long unless you're buying white grapefruit juice that has a whole bunch of those artificial ingredients at the bottom of it, in which case they're designed to help keep it, stable and that sort of thing. But it's still in that case, it's just not as bright. It's not as crisp as fresh white grapefruit juice is. And
lemon the same as lime?
treat lemon basically the same way as you would do lime juice. Yeah, that's my general rule. I treat those two the same. Well, I'm way falling behind here on my daiquiris.
Oh.
I will drink the tea daiquiri because I know that is your least favorite, right?
No, I like the tea daiquiri.
You like the tea daiquiri.
Yeah.
The date daiquiri is the least favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well then, sure. Doop.
Nemo says hi.
Do you want a daiquiri?
No.
He's thinking about it, but he finally decides no. He says, "Dad, dates are okay, but I don't think I want the daiquiri." So, all of these are, I'm not going to say they're bar staples. They're fairly standard tiki staples, with maybe the exception of the date syrup.
Right. Which I was at the store, I saw it, and I got it. Because, well, I knew he'd play with it.
Well, that doesn't mean that you have to stick to sort of normal syrups, right? Spiced syrup, a tea infused, even, I sort of consider a tea infused syrup to be a standard for tiki drinks. Tea is a basis for a lot of punches in the tiki canon, and so making a tea syrup is kind of right in there with standard stuff. But that doesn't mean that you can't just open a can of something that's got some syrup in it and go, I wonder what kind of daiquiri that would make. Because as long as you're working your home bar, why not? Now, you're never going to be able to get that drink wandering into a bar. You can't wander into some bar and go, "Hey, have you opened a can of fruit cocktail, and can I have that as my syrup?" That's probably never going to happen. But that doesn't mean that you can't play around and see what something is that you might come up with using a home syrup of some sort. So I spent a number of my youth years on the island of Guam, and while there's a lot of fresh fruit and fresh tropical juices and that sort of thing on Guam, because it's a small island in the Marianas, a lot of the food is just simply flown in. And so we drank a lot of canned juices and canned fruits and that sort of thing. And somewhere along the line, I discovered that, those cans of plums, canned plums, I love canned plums. I will sit there and I will eat canned plums right out of the can. But if you do that, then you have a can that's got plum juice left in it. Plum syrup, like this. And I went, I have no idea what a plum syrup daiquiri would taste like. So I hunted down tiki recipes that use plum infused syrup and found almost nothing. So clearly plum juice and plum syrup is not a thing in the tiki canon, but that doesn't mean that I can't work with it. So that's what we're going to do this evening for our final foray into playing around with the daiquiri. One of my favorite things to do. So we are going to use plum syrup. This is literally straight out of the can, right? And if you happen to find plum syrup or canned plums,
Dana ate those as a kid also.
if you find the canned plums disgusting, for God's sake, don't make this drink, because I'm sure, I'm sure it will be nasty to you. But we're going to give it a try. And Dana, I am happy to note that I am not the sole weird person in the world that loves that stuff. And it is a true testament to how much my wife loves me, whatever, that she will go to the supermarket and will occasionally just bring home cans of plums, set them in front of me and let me eat them. She thinks I'm weird. I probably am, but you know, what the heck. There's a bottle of Probitas on this bar. There it is. Daiquiris are yummy. Yay. Okay. All right, so we're going to go with 2 ounces of the Probitas. Right? So say it with me. 3/4 of an ounce of syrup, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, and 2 ounces of rum. You're stealing another one of my cocktails. I don't even know what that one is. I've lost track. Is that the syrup? That's the spice syrup, isn't it? Yep. All right, so let me kill this. This is the tea syrup. Yum. And then this is the daiquiri syrup.
Daiquiri syrup?
Daiquiri syrup, the date syrup. Wow. Mmm. As they say in the business, fire for effect. Woohoo. Yum. All right. Plum daiquiri coming up. Let's see what we got here. Fill this guy up with ice. Same amount of ice. Goes in there. Lid her up. Oh, this is a bad sign. I commented as I was shaking that this is a bad sign. And Star looked at me like, what? What's a bad sign? You know you're shaking a lot of cocktails when your cat, who's sitting on the counter back over here, just kind of looks over his shoulder at you like, yeah, whatever, and doesn't like run in terror from the shaking of the cocktail, because it's kind of loud and obnoxious sound, and you would expect that the cat would not appreciate that sound. Clearly that's not the case. He's just used to it by now.
Yeah.
That's a bad sign. How's that for a cup?
Pink.
It is pink.
Didn't we have a lesson the other day about pink Mai Tais?
This is not a Mai Tai.
Okay.
It's not a Mai Tai. It's a daiquiri. Plum daiquiri for the hopefully win. Let's find out. Cheers.
I'm leery.
I don't know why she's leery. It's not like I bled into it.
I'm letting you drink it first.
Yeah, but I like plum syrup,
I know.
so I'm going to like this, right? Wow, tastes like a daiquiri. I'm getting almost none of the plum off of that. It's pretty.
Tastes like a flat daiquiri.
It's not sweet enough, is it?
No.
Oh, the syrup's not the...
No.
Doesn't have the same punch.
No.
All right. Yeah, it is a little more sour, and that's because the plum syrup is not as sweet. So you're going to pour some of the Russian carrot? No, you're going to pour some of the spiced syrup in there. All right, so here's the deal. So this is an experiment, right? We use the plum syrup. The plum syrup is not as sweet as the 2-to-1 syrups that I've been playing around with here. So I would add a little more of some simple syrup to that, or just add a little more of the plum syrup. Or, I mean, if I really wanted to accentuate the plum flavor,
You can make a syrup.
what I would do is I would take that little jar that I have of plum syrup, wherever it is, here it is. I'd stick that in a saucepan and I'd reduce the sucker by 50%. I'm sure that that would amp up the plum flavor of that. It does have a remarkably pretty color to it, though. Now,
Dana says reduce it.
yeah. So
Why reduce it?
why reduce it? Okay, because the flavor the flavor ingredients in this are in a solution, and that solution is diluted because the plum syrup has a certain amount of water in it. So if you take this and you reduce it, you will steam off a portion of the water, and you will condense the flavor profile into a. So you'll increase the concentration of plum yumminess in this syrup to water, and it'll have a higher concentration of flavor. Star still doesn't like this. You cannot see the look on her face, which is probably fortunate because it is not at all attractive.
Is it because the plum syrup's a 1-to-1 rather than a 2-to-1?
You know, I'm a little surprised, quite frankly, because most commercial packing syrups are a lot sweeter. And as a consequence, I would have expected that this would have been at least 2-to-1 and would have been just fine. So this is a secret ingredient. Tiki cocktails are full of secret ingredients, and cats, evidently, didn't know that, right? But cats are apparently a secret ingredient in tiki cocktails. Emo, dude, are you also a Leo and need to hog the camera? Nobody needs to see your butt. Come on, scooch, scooch, scooch.
Scaramouche.
All right, there we go.
The advantage of having your own bartender is you can say, I want demerara syrup.
Spice syrup.
I want Havana Club. I want a daiquiri.
Wow. Wow, she wants a Cuban daiquiri. She wants Havana Club, Cuban Havana Club. This is not the Puerto Rican Bacardi. This is Havana Club. This is the real straight out of Cuba stuff. All right. Hope you've had fun watching me play around with different forms of daiquiri and that sort of thing. We are entering into the winter period. I know it's still autumn, but you know, Thanksgiving is done. Christmas is around the corner. So I gotta say, you know, hot rum toddies are gonna be a thing. They're coming up. Rum's gonna come into its own. Baking spices, rum sort of baking spices are going to be abounding all over the place. This is rum's time to shine. I mean, it does really well during the summer, obviously, with tiki drinks, but rum does very well in the winter as well. So here we go. The wife is getting her own full-up daiquiri.
You can have a sip.
There's some in there.
Okay.
We'll do that. Set that there. I'm guessing we will not experience this face when she sips that.
That is the perfect daiquiri.
You think?
Yep. For me, that is the perfect daiquiri.
And see, I think the spice syrup is a little too heavy there. I might back off on that, but
It's my favorite.
she likes the spice syrup and the flavor of the spice syrup. I tend to like my daiquiris having the rum shine through them, and so I think of all of the daiquiris that we have had this evening, my absolute favorite is probably going to be the very first daiquiri that we did, which shows through the flavor of the Probitas. Because that's what I want from my daiquiri, is I want it to complement the flavor of the rum, and I want the rum to be the primary character. Although that date syrup, that made an interesting daiquiri, and now I'm going to have to think about playing with the date syrup, because it was way too datey. But I think maybe using the date syrup in place of like a honey syrup in some cocktails would be a real interesting place to start playing around with that date syrup. So there you go. We have had plenty of fun here playing around with the daiquiri, the base daiquiri mix, and seeing what we could do with it, and doing all sorts of just here's a different sweetener for every daiquiri, and keeping everything else the same. We've also drunk down a fair portion of my bottle of Probitas, which means at some point I'm going to need another bottle of Probitas. But Christmas is around the corner. Who knows what'll happen? So there we go.
And it's available at ABC.
It is. It is available at Virginia ABC stores. So yeah, that's good. Let's see. What else is important to note? Last Friday, Foursquare both released and released for sale the new exceptional cask Détente, right? Yes, the Détente, which is the 15th mark in that series. Is that right? 14th, 15th? Roman numerals, right-hand side. 14th mark in that series. My wife got a taste of that while she was at S&R Liquors. So here's a shout out to Vinny and Ray.
Shout out to Vinny and Ray at S&R
Liquors.
I went to S&R. They had things that I hadn't seen yet. They had a gin that I really enjoyed that I'd had once at dinner.
From the Amalfi
Italy.
Coast, right?
Yeah.
In Italy, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so now we have a bottle of that because,
and it was really, really good to see them. I hadn't seen them since
before all this. Support your local liquor stores.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you live in, like we do, we are blessed. I mean, we live in an alcohol-controlled state where we can only buy alcohol from the ABC stores, but they're really good. I mean, they're distributed. They have a good set of distributors. They have a good selection of.
And the one closest to us has a really, really good stock. It's not actually closest to us. It's close to us. And there's
it's mostly on the main thoroughfare that we go up and down.
It's between us and our pod, so we go there a lot.
But
there's one by us that has specialty in rum, and there's one not too far from us that has specialty in scotch.
But we also
live by the district.
We live by the district, and the rules are, they can use whatever distributors essentially that they want, and can get that. And Maryland has much less restrictive conditions. So even though we live in an alcohol control state, because of the proximity being out on the East Coast, we have access to some pretty nice stock. And the guys at S&R do a really good job. They have a penchant for St. Lucian rums, which is perfectly fine with me, because we should talk St. Lucian rums sometime on one of these shows.
That's also where you got to try the
Samaroli. So there was a Samaroli tasting at S&R, and we walked out with a bottle of the Samaroli, which is pretty darn intense.
Because you're spoiled.
Yeah, I'm spoiled. All right, we've gone on way too long. I've had a lot of fun. I hope you have had a lot of fun. Next weekend, Saturday is Repeal Day. Yeah, that's up. There is no Repeal Day ball this year in DC for the Craft Bartenders Guild in DC, but I think we'll probably find some way of celebrating the repeal of Prohibition. So somebody's going to have to remind me and hold me to it that we're going to have to do something to commemorate the fact that Prohibition, the Act of Prohibition, the Holstead Act, was repealed on December 5th. So December 5th, end of Prohibition. Yay, we should all celebrate that, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to make this truly, truly vile plum daiquiri that Star hates. but I think is actually okay. So, all right, folks, we're gonna log off now. It's far later than we would normally go. Hope you've had fun. We'll talk to you later. If you've enjoyed this, like the page, like the broadcast, like the page.